listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Radio's authority on the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology, celebrating 25 years of broadcasting around the world and to the great beyond.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Gwilda Wiyaka's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the Science of Magic or endorsed in any manner by Gwilda Wiyaka, Relmar McConnell Media Company, its affiliated networks, stations, or employees. Welcome to the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, a program dedicated to uncovering the unified nature of reality and humanity's ever-evolving place as truly galactic beings. For more information on the Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, visit us online at www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome to the Science of Magic, a place where science and magic come together to transform fact into evolving truth. We're coming to you through the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net, and can also be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. This hour, we'll be exploring from finite to infinite. I'm not sure when it happened, but at some point, human beings forgot who and what they were. Maybe it happened sometime during the last astrological ages, when our solar system was passing through a darker portion of the galaxy. Maybe it was at the time of the fall mentioned in the Bible. Who's to say? At some point, we restricted our concept of humanity to these segregated physical bodies and five senses. Even our understanding of reality and the world around us is so limited as to be laughable. The very things we consider to be solid and corporeal are at the atomic and subatomic level mostly empty space. Yet within this vacant cosmos are found the secrets of the universe. Humanity is a river of light flowing from the finite to the infinite. Gilil Gibran. Across the ages, shamans have navigated this void by entering a state of pure consciousness or light. Light, being an electromagnetic wave, doesn't need a medium in which to propagate and can therefore navigate the landscape between molecules with ease. The key to navigating the ethers is to engaging our will to change where we focus our attention, which changes our brainwaves. Our brainwaves express as frequency. Frequency traverses a scale from physicality to light. Shamanism uses an organized set of rituals, enabling the practitioner to shift focus from the material world to the quantum level of life, from the finite to the infinite, where manifestation begins. From plants, animals, and humans to planets, stars, and galaxies, everything produces an electromagnetic or a toroidal field. Everywhere these fields intersect, X-points are formed. NASA is currently studying the X-points created where the Earth's electromagnetic field intersects that of the Sun. They found that these X-points actually are wormholes, shortcuts in the time-space continuum. True to form, NASA's launched probes trying to get more information. The problem they keep running into is this: electromagnetic fields are constantly oscillating, causing X-points to appear and disappear without warning. While perhaps not understanding the scientific principles behind it, shamans have been navigating X-points for over 50,000 years. Built into the shamanic practice is a method of focusing the practitioner's will and attention on the betwixt and between of things, where the elements overlap, such as between the sea and the land, the sky and the horizon, the candle and the flame, and so on. In so doing, the practitioner is actually traversing X-points created where the electromagnetic fields of the elements intersect. Shamans are not the only ones to employ X-points. Psychics, wittingly or not, as well, and for that matter, we all do. It's mostly unconscious. The only thing standing between the average individual and their multidimensionality is training, focus, clear intent, and faith in one's ability. If we access the quantum level information, we not only predict future trends and find our sweet spot therein, we can also affect outcome. We already affect outcome. We actually create the lives we're living. You may look around yourself and not like what you see. You may say, "No way did I create this mess." Yet the sad fact is, we do create our own reality, if unconsciously. If we learn to master our conscious and unconscious intent, we can utilize X-points to access the microcosm and the quantum level and recreate our lives. We can use the X-points between heavenly bodies to access the macrocosm and explore the galaxy. It is our birthright to be a river of light flowing from the finite to the infinite. We need to only set our intent and let go of the limiting beliefs of who we really are. True unity is achieved through our God-given multidimensional nature. The question begs asking, what in heaven or on earth are we waiting for? Our guest this hour is Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer. And on the other side of this commercial break, we're going to introduce Mark. And together we'll explore his views on quantum consciousness and multidimensionality. So don't go away. You're listening to The Science of Magic on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. Prior innovative episodes can always be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. This should be interesting, so do not go away.
Afterlife expert Roberta Grimes was the first one to say that dying can be fun. Now her best-selling book, The Fun of Dying, is available in stores worldwide. So if you wonder whether death ends life, how it feels to die, or what heaven might be like, The Fun of Dying was written for you. And if you have always been afraid of death, or if you worry that your life has no meaning, let The Fun of Dying ease your fears and bring new meaning to your life. Nothing said in The Fun of Dying is based on the teachings of any religion. Instead, Roberta draws on evidence to explain how death happens, how it feels, and what comes next. A lot of the best death-related evidence was produced in the first half of the 20th century. When it is put together with recent discoveries, it tells a consistent and amazing story. Roberta Grimes blogs and answers questions at robertagrimes.com. Her wonderful book, The Fun of Dying, is available on Amazon and at stores worldwide wherever books are sold. Starr began to demonstrate a metaphysical connection to the spirit world as a little girl. Her family noticed the connection, but it was a great-grandmother who told the family that Linnea was indeed gifted. The great-grandmother, who was also gifted, felt that Linnea had indeed inherited these attributes. It has been noticed that oftentimes such things are passed down through the generations. Linnea was also born with a caul, a thin white membrane across a newborn's face. Legend has it that if the baby is born with this caul, the child will have second sight, or what we call psychic abilities. Linnea Starr does past, present, and future, and has the gift of prophecy. It is written within scriptures that if you are able to give factual information and prophecies indeed come true, the gift indeed comes from the divine realm. Linnea Starr does large interactive groups as well as private gatherings. For more information on Linnea Starr or to contact Linnea for a one-on-one consultation, visit her website at www.linneastar.com. That's www.linneastar.com.
Welcome back. This is the Science of Magic, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer. He's an Oxford-educated attorney, fourth-generation medium, and best-selling author. Mark appears regularly on national television, talk radio, and print as a paranormal expert and legal analyst. Mark's new book, Evidence of Eternity, is an uplifting journey into the afterlife, bridging the gaps between the science and the spiritual. Mark's website is www.evidenceofeternity.com. Mark, thank you so much for joining us on the Science of Magic.
Thank you, Gwilda. I've been really looking forward to your show.
Oh, I'm so glad. You're described as a psychic lawyer, and all I can say is I want you on my side.
Well, I appreciate that. I know everybody thinks, well, do you only pick winning cases, and do you know when people are guilty? I get those type of comments all the time. And if a lawyer who practices criminal defense only represented people who are innocent, they wouldn't have very many clients. So we have a job to do, and the job as an attorney is to protect your client's constitutional rights, both in the criminal and civil arena. So I do that to the best of my ability, although these days, Gwilda, the demand for my services as a medium has gotten to the point where I've put my law practice on hold because I've been on a nationwide speaking tour, and I've been all over the country in the past couple years and continuing to do so. I just returned from Connecticut, where I spoke both on television and at the Unity of Greater Hartford, and made an appearance at Yale. So I've been pretty busy with my spiritual work.
Well, that's a good thing. Many people seem to think that accessing the esoteric is a function of the brain. But it seems to me that esoteric information comes through multiple channels. Would you mind speaking to this?
The brain is an organ, and you can refer to it as a carbon-12 and saltwater resonator. And what it is, it's a very complex organ. It has an electrical field, and it also has the pineal gland, which we know the pineal gland is a small pea-sized gland, which is in the center of your forehead. And Gwilda, I know that you're familiar with yoga, and a lot of people that practice yoga or are involved in spirituality talk about the third eye, the proverbial third eye. And in yoga and in Hinduism and in Buddhism, the indigo chakra, which is in the middle of your forehead, which is also known as the third eye, well, if you go about 4 inches behind that, that's the location of the pineal gland. And what's fascinating is Hindus were able to figure out this energy center 4,000 to 5,000 years ago. And the pineal gland, due to recent studies, has both magnetite and calcite crystals in it, which the first radios were crystals with low levels of electricity being run through it through copper wire. So we've got a receptor in our head. We have another receptor in our solar plexus, which is at the bottom of the rib cage in the very middle. You have the sternum, and the solar plexus is also the most complicated bundle of nerves outside of the cerebral cortex. And we know that the neural network in our body has an electrical field, and we also know that the pineal gland generates an electromagnetic field. So while we do not generate the spiritual messages, we have the equipment, if you will, to be sensitive to it.
That's really interesting. So, from what you're saying, now I have a couple questions. One, I
Sure.
thought the pituitary was the third eye and the pineal was the crown.
Other way around.
Oh,
Other way
okay.
around. Yeah, the pineal gland, due to studies in Britain, France, Germany, Israel, Russia, and the United States, the pineal gland, it regulates our brainwave frequency. It
Mm-hmm.
also regulates our ability to perceive light. It
Mm-hmm.
also controls our circadian rhythms, and it
Right.
generates an electromagnetic field. The pituitary, and it generates or produces the hormone melatonin,
Right.
where the pituitary gland, which is a little bit to the left and higher, which would be affiliated with the crown chakra, secretes the hormone serotonin.
Got it.
And the pituitary gland is associated with the crown chakra, but the pineal gland is the third eye chakra. And
Gotcha.
it's not unusual to get those two confused because they're both very complicated glands. But the pineal gland has got scientists all over the world hopping and popping because it is just so amazing. And if you look at the history of faith, every great spiritual teacher from primitive times, um, and then into the more advanced religions of India, of Hinduism, of Egypt, of the Middle East and Far East, the Native American religions, Christianity, all the way up to spiritualism, all refer to God in terms of light.
Right.
And people who have
Exactly.
and people who have near-death experiences talk about going through the tunnel, encountering the light, and that the light is an intelligence and a love that they can only describe as God. Now, isn't it interesting that the spiritual receptor in our body, which is the pineal gland, is also the gland that regulates our ability to perceive light, both on, I believe, on the physical level. In other words, you turn on the lights or open up the window and you see, the light outside, the physical light, and also the light in the spiritual sense. So what it appears is that when we're perceiving light in the spiritual sense, that is our carbon-12 resonator, our brain's ability to interpret the energy that we associate with God.
Gotcha. So, when you were talking about this, I kind of got this visual that the pituitary, and as well as the bundle in the solar plexus, um, generate an electromagnetic field. Does that have something to do with our auric field? And is it through that auric field that we start connecting with the esoteric information?
Bada bing, bada boom. Knock the ball right out of the park with that question. Yes, the pineal gland. All right. First off, we know that the body has an electrical field. The brain does, the heart does. Our nerves, electrical impulses run through our nerves. And a nice way to look at the aura, and there's a lot of people say, oh, that's a bunch of nonsense. Yeah, but when you turn on a light, whether it's an LED light, an electric light, a fluorescent light, right around the bulb you see an intense glow. That is, if you will, the aura of a light bulb. Now,
Right.
similarly, our body generates an electromagnetic field. Our body produces electricity. Our body also produces light, which I know we're going to cover in a few minutes through biophotons. And so basically our body is generating an energetic field. And I think pretty much everybody is capable of perceiving it, but some of us, like yourself and me and others who work in the psychic field, we're more sensitive to perceiving the auric field. In other words, the energy glow, the energy emanation around people. And the folks that really work very hard with the auric field and understanding it, they will talk about colors in the auric field, and colors being reflective of moods or health, and all sorts of ways. And there appear to be different levels to the auric field, like the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. But
Exactly.
I don't believe that there's nothing silly or airy-fairy about this. This is all, once again, based on science.
Right.
You look at anything which generates energy, whether it's a heater, a light bulb, radioactive energy can be detected. Radio wave energy can. Anything that generates energy has this auric field, and it goes even further than that because everything is energy. And
Exactly. Yeah.
Everything is energy. It's just that some energy vibrates at a higher frequency, which enables us to more readily observe it. In other words, a human being generates a lot more electricity and energy than a brick. Although
Exactly.
I've met some people
But
that argue with that.
you won't mention names on air, right?
But we won't mention any names.
You know, one thing in shamanism, and at least in the way I work, is that I can consciously regulate where my auric field is intersecting someone else's to get the information that they need me to get for them, to see where they've disconnected from themselves, to see where they're not running on all four cylinders and that sort of thing. Could you speak to that?
What you're doing is you are aligning your frequency with theirs. So say that, let's think of the FM radio dial, and you are at, we'll call you 100.1. That's your frequency. And the person that you are doing a reading for, their frequency on the FM radio dial is 90.5. So what you're doing is you're expanding your frequency to interface with theirs. It's a lot like if you are trying to tune into a radio station and you're having a hard time, and you get like two different stations overlapping, then all of a sudden you tune into the station you want. So essentially what you're doing is the same thing, because you are expanding your energetic field to interface with theirs. And by interfacing with their energetic field, you are then able to start discerning patterns throughout their electrical flow. So let's say you tune into somebody that maybe has heart problems, and you're picking up in gaps in the sequencing of energy flowing through that organ because maybe they have a faulty valve or some blockages, or people that are have ventricular fibrillation. That's when the electrical field in your heart gives out, and usually a couple weeks or so before that, there's an erratic electrical flow. And so you're able to pick that up, and then when that information from their auric field interfaces with yours, it goes into your brain and then gets translated into recognizable concepts that you can then explain to the client.
Got it. And so this, you're explaining to me how the medical intuitive I do works. So I'm able to be very specific, whether I'm focusing on their spiritual aspect, their mental aspect, their emotional aspect, or their physical. And when I'm focusing on the physical, is it a different bandwidth? Is that what you're seeing there of frequency?
Exactly. The physical, emotional, mental, spiritual auric fields are all different stations on the proverbial radio dial. And a lot of people, they wonder about that, but then look at acupuncture. Acupuncture has been in Asian medicine for thousands of years, and it was looked at as hocus pocus in the West until about 30, 40 years ago. Now what we're seeing is when the doctors are putting the needles in, they're doing along nerve pathways, and what they're doing is they're opening up neurological pathways. Because a lot of times swelling and blockages are caused by histamines, which are fluids that build up, and they can start impeding electrical flow through a particular area of the body. And by putting these needles in there, you start to disperse those and then make things run quicker. Let's make it easy. If you have an irrigation system and one of the pipes is blocked, a lot of things back up, and your sprinklers aren't working, your grass dies, you clean out the pipe, the water flows, the grass grows, everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy. Mark, we're going to have to take a break. Mark and I will return to our discussion after this short break. You're listening to The Science of Magic on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Previous broadcasts of thought-provoking episodes can always be found on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. Mark and I will be back, and we're going to be talking about quantum physics, so don't you go away.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? Well then, meet Dr. Kimberly McGeorge and her cutting-edge breakthrough knowledge that combines science with possibility. Dr. Kimberly brings real-life answers and healing to those open to alternative solutions. She teaches solution-based programs and classes that will change all areas of your life forever. Specializing in conscious creation, intuitive readings, and energy medicine, you can rapidly shift health, relationships, business, and money and abundance challenges quickly. Receive her best-selling book, Secret to Everything, at no cost by going to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone. That's right, transformation can start now. Just go to secrettoeverything.com/X-Zone and receive Dr. Kimberly's book for free.
The scientist and the mystic have been on an age-old, relentless search with one thing in common. They seek truth. Their paths converge in the 40,000-year-old practice of shamanism, an ancient science delving to the quantum level of life, facilitating healing, manifestation, and evolution. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, the founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Arts School, a unique Colorado State certified occupational school training shamanic practitioners and teachers. We also provide classes for empowering personal lives through shamanism. Our certification classes are in week-long segments enabling international participation, and online classes and long-distance shamanic healing sessions are available. Come discover the science of magic in the limitless world of shamanism. www.findyourpathhome.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, a place where magic and science come together to promote enlightenment. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer and author of Evidence of Eternity. Mark, we can't get too much further in this discussion without talking a little bit about quantum physics. Would you give a brief definition of quantum physics for us, please?
I don't mean to laugh, but it's so funny because the great Dr. Heisenberg said once, when you think you understand quantum physics, you don't.
Exactly.
And what it is, but it's a fascinating field, and we hear the word quantum physics all the time. Well, we know that molecules are composed of atoms, and then atoms are composed of electrons, neutrons, and protons. And then those particles are composed of smaller units referred to as quarks, and then the smallest of all, my understanding, is quanta, henceforth the term quantum physics. And quanta, it's all electromagnetic energy. And everything that exists, you, me, the microphone you're talking into, the radio waves that this is being transmitted over, the sun, the air that we breathe, the water, the space between the earth and the sun are all composed of quanta. So everything is energy. And quantum physics is the study and the journey to understand this energy that composes everything. And what Albert Einstein said, and he was one of the fathers of quantum physics, he said that there is no matter. There's only energy which vibrates at different levels. So that's why I call the dimension that we live in the material world, because the objects that we perceive as solid things around us are vibrating at a much lower and slower level than purely spiritual energy or something like gamma rays, which are vibrating at a much higher frequency. It's all energy, and therefore that's how everything is interconnected.
Yes, everything expresses according to frequency. And if you want to experience a reality, just match the frequency to that reality and you create it.
Exactly.
Okay, Mark, are you ready? Let's get busy.
I am ready.
Let's get busy. Okay, the chakras are anchored in the endocrine glands, and I see this as a crossover point between the physical and the spiritual planes. Would you share your thoughts on chakras, endocrine glands, light, electromagnetic fields as they relate to our interface with the quantum level?
Okay, let's kind of break that down into some smaller questions.
I want to keep you on your toes.
Let's start. I know that's the lawyer in me coming out. Objection, compound question. Chakras and the endocrine glands. We have 7 chakras and 7 endocrine glands. And they all line up. The red chakra is reproductive. The orange, which would be, in our reproductive areas. And a joke I like to say as a criminal defense lawyer and a former prosecutor, I can say that way too many people who get in trouble focus entirely on that chakra. Then there's the the orange chakra, which is sort of in the belly button area, and that's your GI tract, and that would also be the glands in that area, like the adrenal glands. And then there is the very important, all the chakras are important, but then the yellow chakra, which is the solar plexus, which is in conjunction with the production of insulin, the pancreas, and that is also the yellow chakra is the most complicated bundle of nerves outside of the cerebral cortex. So when people get a gut feeling, or you get that feeling in your stomach, it's like, you all of a sudden you feel something about when you're children and something terrible's happened. Well, the reason they call it a gut feeling, a gut instinct, is because this is the emotional receptor area. So vibrationally, this is where we receive emotional messages. And in the mediumistic field, it's referred to as clairsentience, clear feeling. This is where you get it. Then there is the heart chakra, which is the green chakra. Then there's the throat chakra, which is tied in with your thyroid glands. Then, of course, the pineal gland, which is the third eye chakra in the center of your forehead, and then there is the pituitary gland, which is the crown chakra. And each of these chakras correspond with the location of an endocrine gland, and the endocrine glands are electrochemical devices, if you will, because they both secrete various hormones which regulate different functions of our body. Like the red chakra, in men, this is where we produce testosterone. Women produce estrogen. Then the pancreas produces insulin, which regulates our blood sugar levels. The adrenal glands in the orange chakra, that's adrenaline, epinephrine. That's the fight or flight response, the one that gets us off our tuchus and gets going. And then you go all the way up into the higher chakras, which are the pineal and the pituitary, the pineal producing melatonin, which also helps to induce sleep and regulates our response to light. So each one of these very important glands has specific functions, and also there's a spiritual overlay, particularly with the pineal gland and with the solar plexus, because these are the two receptor areas for what could be referred to as psychic and intuitive information.
Got it.
So I think that covers like the first two parts of your question. I'm ready for
Hey, you are a lawyer,
part.
aren't you? I said you are a lawyer, aren't you?
You got to pay attention. Got to pay attention. The lawyer who doesn't read footnotes is the lawyer who loses cases.
So how does our push-pull in the world work through this connection between the physical body, the esoteric body, and the world at large? So you talk about how we get information coming in, but don't we also influence the quantum level through these areas?
Of course we do, because we're not a static thing. Okay, the world, the universe is not a static environment. It's energy, and energy is always flowing. And a lot of people, I've noticed, especially when I was fresh out of law school and I kept going to the courthouse because I was a prosecutor and I was all excited I was going to save the world. And I noticed I was getting incredibly nervous and full of anxiety. And at first I thought it was just, stage fright. And then I realized I was getting morbidly depressed, and I was getting all these incredible emotions. And my mother, who was a medium, she said, well, what's going on? And I explained it to her. She goes, Mark, you're an empath. And it suddenly dawned on me, I was picking up on other people's feelings. And let's face it, when you go to a courthouse, that's a pretty miserable place. People don't go to the courthouse, hey, I'm in a good mood, let's go hang out at the court. No, it's because they're under arrest, or they're facing charges, or they're suing somebody, or they want to file divorce, or they got to go fill out a bunch of paperwork. You go to the courthouse, and it's a necessary thing, and I'm not belittling the profession, but people don't hire a lawyer usually when you're happy. It's because something, negative is going on in your life. So you walk into a courthouse, and there are hundreds and hundreds of people that are just emanating all sorts of negative emotions and vibrations, and I was picking up on them like a magnet. And then I realized that once I started acknowledging that these feelings were not coming from me, were not being generated by me, but are rather being picked up by me, and I started imagining like on Star Trek, a deflector shield around me, or a series of mirrors reflecting it back. Then all of a sudden, the morbose feelings and the quote unquote nervous breakdown I thought I was having stopped, because and that's a big part of people that are developing your spirituality, or especially those developing mediums. You have to realize that you can tell spirits to leave you alone, and they will respect that. I have people all the time, oh, the spirits are around me. It's like, well, tell them to leave me alone.
I love it.
Okay? And they're like, really?
Okay, so...
And I go, yeah. Okay, because the thing is, spirits are pure energy, pure consciousness. They don't have to sleep. They don't get tired. And if they can communicate with you, they're going to do so. But you have to set the parameters and tell them, okay, I need to sleep now. Because I know people that they can't get a decent night's sleep because spirits are always bugging them, and I told them, tell them to leave you alone. Then all of a sudden they're like, hey, I'm getting a good night's sleep.
Let me see if I can frame this in an energetic format. See if I'm right here. So basically, and I have to teach a lot about boundaries and this sort of thing, because people that are shamanically gifted are always being bombarded. Okay, But
Well,
what we're
sure.
doing on the what we're doing on the energetic level through our chakra system is creating the equal but opposite wavelength of that which is coming in that we don't want to be perceiving. Is that correct?
Yes, because for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And energy is neither created nor destroyed, only transferred from one form to another. So basically, you have to regulate what's coming in, what's going out. One of the sayings from my book, Evidence of Eternity, is you can never achieve a positive life with a negative mind. And
Very well put.
yeah, I mean, people are like, why isn't anything good happen to me? Everyone around me is a jerk. Everyone down's trying to get me. I don't like anyone. Why don't good things happen to me? Okay, well, what energy are you putting out? Negative, 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 negative. All right, so you expect all of a sudden positive stuff. You know, it's like you get a puppy and you kick and beat and smack the puppy around, then you wonder why it grows up into a vicious dog that bites people. All right. So, well, yeah. I mean, so and I don't mean that one should be naive and just go around and be nice and let people take advantage of you, but you've got to realize that if you go through life emanating negative energy, then you're going to be drawing even more negativity to you.
Yeah, like begets like, doesn't it?
It does, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to stand up to the negativity, and you have to draw the proverbial line in the sand. But that it's like I was at a conference where I was one of the speakers, and the discussion of the group in the Middle East, ISIS, came up, and somebody said, "Well, we just need to raise our vibration," and I'm looking at her going, so what you're telling me is if we go and send happy thoughts at ISIS, they're going to stop cutting people's heads off. And she gave me this really smug look. And then I saw in the paper a couple of days later a Hindu guru sent a letter of peace reaching out to ISIS. And they sent him back a picture of a pile of severed heads. Okay? And I'm not saying that I believe in death and destruction and violence, but sometimes you have to take a stand, and you cannot let people walk all over you, okay? And people think that Gandhi's techniques were passive resistance, and Gandhi said there is nothing passive about what we're doing. What we're doing is nonviolent, non-cooperation. So the British cannot run India if we don't cooperate. So we are taking affirmative action by withdrawing our acceptance of what they're doing. So
we're going to have to take another one here. Mark and I will be back on the flip side of this commercial break. You're listening to The Science of Magic on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net, the place where altruistic professionals of science and the esoteric create common ground for the betterment of our world. You can always listen to previous transformative broadcasts on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. We will be back, so don't you go away.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
If you enjoy reading a good mystery with a touch of the paranormal, then you'll love From Out of the Woodwork by William S. Peckham. Sean Kennedy, a Toronto contractor, buys derelict houses, guts them, and turns them into multi-family dwellings. When Sean buys 29 Livery Lane, a century house in ruins, and starts the renovation, the house fights back. He is visited by ghosts of owners past. His visions are triggered by touching an oak mantle, reading a faded letter, opening an old locket, or opening a brand new casket in the basement. These visions will take you on a trip across southern Ontario from Niagara Falls to Toronto to Kingston. From Out of the Woodwork is now available in paperback and on your favorite electronic reader. To order your copy of From Out of the Woodwork, go to www.williamspeckham.com. That's www.williamspeckham.com.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, High Tech with Corey Kay, and every minute of the 24/7, 365 programming of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 712-432-9459, courtesy of TalkStream Live. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 712-432-9459 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 712-432-9459 for the best of paranormal, new age, thought-provoking, sci-fi radio programming 24/7, 365.
This is Kevin Randall. For nearly 30 years, I have been investigating the case of the Roswell UFO. I have interviewed hundreds of people and stood on the crash site. Now in Roswell in the 21st century, I have reviewed dozens of hours of audio and videotaped interviews, examined hundreds of files that relate to the crash, and have returned to Roswell in an attempt to put all that information into the proper perspective. For the first time in Roswell in the 21st century, I have made a dispassionate reevaluation of all that material and provide a new look at what happened. This is a book that clears away all the clutter that has hidden the truth for so long, strips away the various lies that surround the case, exposes the Air Force attempts at cover-up, and found a core of solid information that tells us all where the case stands today. Roswell in the 21st century will be available in just a few weeks. For more information, please visit my website at www.kevinrandall.blogspot.com.
Welcome back. This is The Science of Magic, bringing together gifted people of service to the world. I'm your host, Gwilda Wiyaka. Our guest this hour is Mark Anthony, the psychic lawyer and author of Evidence of Eternity. Mark, talk to me about light and biophotons.
As we were talking earlier in the program about light and how the pineal gland is our ability to perceive light, and how every great spiritual teacher has depicted God in terms of light. And Albert Einstein once commented that we are all light beings. Well, in the 1920s, Gurgurov, a Russian scientist, found that our cells emit ultra-weak light emissions, which we now call biophotons. And over the past decades, this has been studied more and more. In fact, at the Lebedev Institute in Moscow, and more recently in the United States and in Britain at Oxford and Cambridge, they found that our cells communicate through a series of flashes of light. People have wondered, doctors have wondered, if you drop like a bowling ball on your foot, how does the message get to your brain instantaneously? Now, of course, we know that our neural network uses electricity, but they were still saying that all the neural net that it would take to get through would take longer than instantaneously, and they're finding now that our cells appear to be a matrix of light that are flashing light, and that one cell can emit 100,000 flashes of light in a minute. So that's how our body communicates with each other. So, and the fact of the matter is, this is different than bioluminescence, like a firefly or a lightning bug, because that's a chemical reaction that is visible external to the body. These are on a minute cellular level and very difficult to detect without modern, or impossible to detect without modern terminology. So here's what it comes down to, Gwilda, is that God is light, or rather our ability to perceive light, and when you become enlightened, which is opening your mind to higher spiritual and esoteric understanding, enlightenment, which is one of the concepts in Evidence of Eternity, is the inner light, the light which is within us, and it is not just a proverbial thing; it is a real thing. So if God is light, and we are all the children of God and all cells in the body of God, then that light is also within us. The problem lies not with the light, because the light is pure, but it can be blocked. And that's where our free will comes in. People who choose to do negative and evil things, they are blocking the light, or rather ignoring it. So biophotons are a real thing, and they are part of the energy of our quantum field, which connects us with everything. And if I could go a step further, all the religions teach that God always was, always will be, and that God is ever present and knows what's going on everywhere. Well, I don't believe God is a neurotic white guy sitting on a throne smiting people with a scepter. That's a medieval understanding of what God is. But when you start looking at this quantum energy and how everything is interconnected, because everything is a quantum field, and then there's an intelligence which runs through that field, which transcends space and time, and we could get into talking about wormholes, and which were just proven, gravitational waves proven, another one of Einstein's theories. So that's what God is the energy that binds us all. And at the risk of almost sounding facetious, and I don't mean it this way, it's closer to Star Wars, the Force, than it is a narcissistic, insecure man sitting on a throne with a scepter.
So, from what you're saying, is there really any separation between my consciousness, yours, or for that matter, the consciousness of the cosmos?
Certainly not on the other side. And in Evidence of Eternity, I talk about the collective consciousness disconnect. And I look at our consciousness as a drop of water. And when we leave the body, that drop of water plunges into this eternal ocean and is now interconnected energetically with all these other consciousness. But the gift that we all have is our individuality. So while we're part of a collective consciousness, we also maintain our individuality and can then disconnect from that to return through reincarnation or to make contact with a person here, either through a medium or through a contact experience. So yes, we are all interconnected, and on the other side, we become part of this vast consciousness, what Shirley MacLaine refers to as the all. I just was privileged to speak with her recently, and I love the way she said the all. And our material world brain is a finite organism because for whatever reasons we're supposed to be having a finite experience while we're in living in the material world to accomplish and to perceive and to experience things that we cannot when you're in a purely energetic state, which is why our brain is programmed for limited perception, yet our spirit is free of those limitations.
Amazing. Amazing. Before we run out of time, Mark, I understand you have a mystical Mayan cruise coming up October 22nd through the 27th. Would you briefly tell us a little bit about that?
The Mystical Mayan Cruise is going to be great. It leaves out of Fort Lauderdale on the Royal Princess, which is one of Princess Cruises' newest ships. And there's going to be 2 sea days, the one on the way there and the one on the way back. And I'll be giving a presentation on Mayan spirituality and culture. And trust me, my presentations are not like watching algebra on stage. Okay, I mean, you're going to be entertained. And then in the afternoons, I will be doing gallery readings where I'll be connecting random audience members with loved ones in spirit. And on the C day back, I'll be giving a talk about quantum consciousness and spirituality, and then in the afternoon doing the gallery readings. And then the days that we are in Cozumel and then Costa Maya, you can relax on the beaches or have fun, or you can join me. I want to go on excursions to the Mayan ruins. And, because the Mayans were such incredible people and so amazingly advanced
they were.
in astronomy and astrology. I mean, they were able to predict a solar eclipse 33 years to the day before it happened. So that's part of the fun, and if people want to find out about that, you can just go to my Facebook page or to my website, evidenceofeternity.com. You'll see the tab Psychic Explorer Cruise. So that's at evidenceofeternity.com.
Well, it sounds like a great time, and I'm sure you'll be a wonderful host for them. And where can people find your book, Mark? Same place?
Same place, evidenceofeternity.com. It's at all fine bookstores worldwide. It's in several different languages. And a lot of people say, well, I went to Barnes & Noble and they were sold out. It's like, well, then go to the customer service desk and they'll order you one. So
perfect.
And also it's on Amazon.com and all fine bookstores. Everyone's capable of ordering it. And it's also, I believe, on Walmart.com. So
wonderful. Wonderful. So if we have the potential of being multidimensional, why do you think we have such a finite view of reality?
I think the reason for that is so that we can experience things that we simply can't while we're in a purely energetic format. And the question is, why is that? And I'm not exactly sure why that is, but there appears to be a reason to it. And it seems that the more adversity that we go through in this world tends to have a direct influence on the frequency that we enter once we transition to the other side. So there's a lot to this. We're just scratching the surface of it. So it appears to me that we go through a succession of lifetimes in this material world plane until we no longer need to do it. And then the question is, well, do you get to just hang out with God, or do you transfer to another dimension? And I got the distinct impression on several encounters with spirits that they were kind of laughing at me like, you think this ends anytime soon? And it appears to be that's the nature of energy. And when we're done with this material world, maybe we go to another one or to another dimension. And that's an ongoing process. But it does appear that at some point we may not have to return in a corporeal form. So, it's difficult to say, but one thing I do know is that karma never loses an address. And whatever you do, whatever you do comes back on you. And once again, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. The law of karma, whatever you do comes back on you. Christianity, whatever a person shall reap, he or she shall sow. So all religions can be boiled down to two words: be nice.
I love it. I love it. This has just been such a wonderful time. We're going to have to do it again, Mark. And thank you so much for being on the program.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I look forward to returning into all of your listeners. Just remember, the person in the car in front of you when you're leaving a parking lot is not your enemy.
You preach against road rage? Is that what?
Yeah, it's one I have to remind myself of constantly.
Well, yeah, where else are we going to dump all this angst, right?
I know. Everyone expects those of us who are spiritual practitioners to always go around, in this Buddha-like state, and we do our best.
Oh, bless your heart. Well, thank you so much. Our guest this hour has been Mark Anthony. He's the author of Evidence of Eternity. This has been The Science of Magic. Remember, you can always listen to past thought-provoking episodes on our website, www.thescienceofmagic.net. Until next time, dear ones, may you be blessed with knowledge and comforted with love as you explore or light.
Searching through